Hey guys, today we are making 6 of my favorite pumpkin fall recipes. And I know pumpkin is one of those things that you either love or hate. And if you hate it, I'm so sorry, you're probably going to want to skip this one. But if you are as obsessed with pumpkin as I am, you are going to love this video because today we are making homemade pumpkin spice lattes, pumpkin chocolate marble bread, pumpkin honey bun cake, a savory pumpkin and bacon quiche, turkey pumpkin chili, and pumpkin baked ziti. We've got a lot to cover, so let's go get started. So we're going to start out with our sweet recipes, and first one that's up is our pumpkin spice latte syrup. So in a saucepan over medium heat here, I am adding a half a cup of water, a half a cup of brown sugar, a half a cup of pumpkin puree, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of ginger, and an 1/8 teaspoon of allspice. You could also just add in 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice, as well as a half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And we just want to whisk that all together and bring it to a boil for about 2 minutes. We just want this to really cook and thicken up. And once it's all nice and thickened, we want to pour it into an airtight container like a mason jar. And you can actually store this in the refrigerator for about 2 weeks if it lasts that long. So to make our drink here, you can use freshly brewed espresso, coffee, whatever you'd like. And then I just add 1 big spoonful of our pumpkin spice blend here, right into that hot coffee. And you can top this with some frothed milk. I like to do just a little bit of half and half and then top it with whipped cream. The possibilities are endless, just make the coffee the way you enjoy it. This tastes just like a pumpkin spice latte from Starbucks to me, and not only is it really quick and easy to make, right at your fingertips, but you're saving tons of money by doing it at home. And it just feels like that extra special treat that you need on a fall morning. So now we are going to move on to our pumpkin chocolate swirl bread. So in a large bowl here, I have 1 stick of butter melted, and to that I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 3/4 of a cup of pumpkin, 2 large eggs, a 1/4 cup of milk, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And we just want to whisk that all together. And then right to that we are going to add in 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of salt, and 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. And once that is all combined, what we want to do is divide the batter in half, and we are going to use half of the batter to make our chocolate swirl. So to make the chocolate layer a little bit more dense and fudgy, we are going to add an extra 1/4 cup of flour to that, along with a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. So we just want to combine that. And then I have my loaf pan greased, and what we want to do is scoop the dough alternating in 2 rows. So I have pumpkin, chocolate, pumpkin, and then on the other side, chocolate, pumpkin, chocolate. And then we're going to do that one more time on top. And then you just want to take a knife and run it all through the bread, and that's what's going to get us those beautiful swirls. So now I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees, and we're just going to bake the bread for about 50 to 55 minutes, or until a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. And then we just want to cool that in the pan for about 10 minutes and then flip it out onto a wire rack to cool the rest of the way. This has become one of my favorite sweet breads to make for the fall. It's not quite sweet enough to call it a cake. It's something that you could serve at a brunch. It's just the perfect amount of sweetness. And I love that the pumpkin part of the bread is really, really tender and light and soft. And the chocolate, as I said before, is very fudgy and a little bit more dense. So it just gives you those different textures throughout. Oh, so, so, so delicious. But if you're looking for something with a little bit more sweetness, then my pumpkin honey bun cake will not disappoint. So what I have here is 1 box of yellow cake mix, and to that I am going to add in a half a cup of vegetable oil, 4 eggs, a half a cup of sour cream, 3/4 of a cup of pumpkin puree, and 2.5 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. So we just want to stir that together and set it aside. And then in a small bowl, I'm going to combine 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar and a half a cup of chopped walnuts. So I have my 9x13 pan greased, and what we're going to do is add about 2 cups of the batter to the bottom of the pan. You just want it to thinly coat the bottom, and then we are going to sprinkle our brown sugar and walnut mixture all over the top of that, and then spoon on the remaining batter. So you're going to get that like caramelized nut bottom of the cake. Oh, almost like an upside down cake kind of thing. So once that's all set, I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees, and we are going to bake it for about 35 to 40 minutes, or until a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. And because of that brown sugar layer on the bottom, we are going to keep the cake in the pan. It just cools in there. And we are also making a glaze, which we are going to pour all over the top. So when the cake is almost done baking, we want to work on our glaze because we are going to pour it over the hot cake. So in a small bowl here, I am combining 1 cup of powdered sugar with 2 tablespoons of milk and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And we just want to whisk that together until it's nice and smooth. And a tip that I forgot to do, and I really wish I had, is to sift your powdered sugar out if there are any clumps, because it is really hard to dissolve the clumps of the powdered sugar. But once it goes on the hot cake, it all melts anyway, so it's really no big deal. So we are just going to drizzle that all over the cake and let it cool. This is absolutely delicious, warm, with a nice hot cup of coffee. Those little store-bought honey buns were my favorite as a kid, and I really wanted to recreate that with this glaze here. And it does. It's got that sweet pumpkin flavor with the kind of upside down cake, walnuts on the bottom, and then that sweet, thin, sticky icing. It is making my mouth water just watching this again, and I'm so glad that I still have some in the fridge. And I will say that too, this will store better in the fridge. You can leave it out at room temperature, but it just will last longer. And with our small family, it takes us a long time to eat this much cake. So I would say refrigerated, it would last about a week. All right, so now let's move on to our savory recipes. So first up is my bacon and pumpkin quiche. So you want to cook 6 strips of bacon in a pan. I actually am reheating these. I prefer to cook my bacon in the oven, but we really want some of those bacon drippings. So I just reheated the bacon in the pan to get some of the bacon fat there, because we are going to cook 1 onion chopped in that bacon grease. And if it's not enough bacon grease, you might want to add a tablespoon or 2 of butter. So we are just going to cook those until they're softened. And then we are going to add in a half a teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper or to taste, as well as a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of sage. Fresh is even better than dried, but if dried is all you have, then that works too. We just want to stir that around. And then we're just going to add our bacon back into the mix and set it aside. So then in a large bowl here, I'm going to combine 8 large eggs with 3/4 of a cup of pumpkin puree and a half a cup of half and half or cream. And we're just going to stir that together and then fold in our onion and bacon mixture, as well as a 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan cheese. So now I have 1 9-inch pie crust that I cooked. I will link my recipe down below for my homemade pie crust, but store-bought is just fine. And we are just going to pour this into the cooked pie crust, and it will be very full, so be careful. And I have the oven preheated to 350 degrees, and we are just going to bake it for about 45 minutes or until it's nice and set and not jiggling in the center. This is delicious, warm or cold. It's great for brunch. My husband actually always takes the leftovers to lunch and eats it cold. I just love the combination of cooked bacon and onions together, and that pairs super well with the pumpkin and that funky Parmesan cheese. It is by far one of my favorite ways to use pumpkin. Now we are going to move on to our turkey pumpkin chili, and this is a bonus slow cooker video for you guys. I know how much you love my slow cooker videos, and I was actually going to include that in my slow cookers part 2, but it's pumpkin, so here we are. So I have 1 pound of ground turkey that I just cooked off on the skillet, and I added that to the bottom of my slow cooker. And I just have to show you guys this. I was opening all my cans and I realized I've never shown my can opener, and I don't know if this is unusual or not. I used to have one of these many years ago and I forgot all about it. The way it opens the can, it doesn't pierce the lid into the can. It actually leaves that lip there so that you can reseal the can if you have extra of whatever it is. It's so cool. So I will link it down below. I never saw them growing up, so I just thought it was really interesting and wanted to share. All right, so enough with the can opener talk. What I'm adding here to the slow cooker is a 14.5 ounce can of diced tomatoes, 15 ounces of pumpkin puree, a 15 ounce can of chili beans, a 15 ounce can of black beans, and then 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice, and 1.5 tablespoons of chili powder. And at the last minute, I decided to throw in 1 onion chopped. That is totally optional if you're not a big fan of onions or anything. And we just want to cover this and cook it on low for 3 to 4 hours just to let all those flavors meld. I know it might sound a little unusual to have the sugar and the pumpkin pie spice in there, but the sweetness just complements the chili powder and the chili beans, and it's just very warming and comforting and really helps bring out that pumpkin flavor. I like serving it with some sour cream and some fresh sage. And last but certainly not least is my Pumpkin Baked Ziti. So in my skillet here, I'm just going to cook 1 pound of Italian sausage. If you wanted to, you could use hot. I used mild. So we just want to cook that until it's all nice and golden brown, and then we are going to remove it from the pan and add in a little bit of olive oil, and then half an onion that I diced, and 2 cloves of garlic minced. And we just want to cook that until everything is nice and softened. And then I'm going to add in 4 sage leaves that I chopped up. As well as half a teaspoon of cinnamon and a pinch of nutmeg. And if you want to add some crushed red pepper in here, it's really good. I left it out for my toddler. But once upon a time, we always put crushed red pepper in everything. Okay, so now I'm going to add in 1 1/4 cups of chicken stock, as well as a 15 ounce can of pumpkin, and this is going to be our sauce. And it's kind of wild how much it tastes like a tomato sauce, but it just has that earthy fall flavor to it. So I have 1 pound of rigatoni that I cooked al dente. And then we are just going to add the sausage back into the sauce, along with a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. And then we're just going to pour that all over our cooked pasta. And then we are just going to add it into a casserole dish here. This is my awesome new 2-quart pumpkin casserole dish. It did not fit all of it. I did have to put some of it in a smaller dish. So you'll probably need like a 13 by 9 casserole dish for this. And because my pumpkin dish is taller, I actually layered some shredded mozzarella cheese and Parmesan halfway through. But if you're just using a regular sized casserole pan, you could just put it all on top. So I added about 2 cups of shredded mozzarella, as well as maybe another 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. And then we just want to bake that at 350 degrees for about 25 to 35 minutes until it is nice and golden brown and bubbling. I absolutely love this dish. I actually got it at Aldi, so I can't link this exact one, but I found one on Amazon that is very, very similar, so I will link that down below. I'm going to use this all fall season long, probably into winter. It's just so beautiful. You can plop it right on your table and serve right out of it. It would be great for Thanksgiving. Well, I really hope you enjoyed coming along with me and making 6 of my favorite pumpkin recipes. If you're not a big fan of pumpkin, I hope maybe you'll give one of these a try if they looked good. I know I wasn't always the biggest fan of pumpkin, but these are some really great ways to incorporate it into dishes, and they are all really toddler friendly, at least for my toddler. And not only is pumpkin delicious, but it's really good for you, so I love trying to incorporate it into as many dishes as I can. If you give any of these a try or just want to say hi, please be sure to leave me a comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. And as always, thank you so much for watching to the end, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.